meaning home. This word is cognate with the Sanskrit word okas. We can refer to divaukas, arbhakaukastvat in the Shankara Bhashya. Right from the Vedas, Sanskrit texts have many references to environmental protection, ecological balance, weather cycle, and even the degradation and deterioration of natural resources, either by natural phenomena or human interference. This paper will try to cover these two aspects. The first section would deal with the environment in ancient Indian texts, and the second with the ecology, relation of mankind with its surroundings. Section first, the environment, mainly deals with the 5 gross elements and the natural surroundings. In fact, the deities praised in the Vedas, in the Vedic literature, consists of heaven, earth, water, rainfall, fire, sun, dawn, night, forest, and the like. These are all natural phenomena. I have divided these into 5 gross elements, Prithvi, Ap, Tej, Vayu, and Akash. So Prithvi, the earth element. The Vedic seers believed that the well-being of Mother Earth depended upon preservation and sustainable development of the surroundings. This vast treasure of knowledge has come down to us concealed by either the ritual and liturgical literature or philosophical and spiritual heritage. The responsibility lies with us to unveil the cover and peep into our rich treasure. Ancient Indian literature includes the Vedic, the Jain, and the Buddhist thoughts. Let us start with the Vedas, the oldest world literature. Vedic deities are natural phenomena personified and later on apotheosized or deified and were offered oblations. Vedic Aditi etymologically means the unbound, na diti, unlimited. As such, she is equated with the vast earth, Prathanat Prithvi Ityahuhu. In the funeral hymn, she is requested to be tender to the dead, like a mother to her child. Human emotions are superimposed on the earth in an appealing manner. Creativity and fertility are 2 main causes that make Aditi Mother Earth. Dhere, Rachim Dhere, who just expired a week ago, Dhere identifies her with Lajja Gauri, a cult of mother goddesses which emerged in the post-Vedic literature, has its source in Aditi. Jungle, Aranyani, is a separate deity in the Rigveda, praised in Rigveda 10:146. This hymn is a eulogy of the wild forest personified as a woman. She listens to the grasshoppers and chirping of the birds. She allows the cattle to graze and permits men to eat fruits and roots. She was considered the benefactor. As such, men never harmed her and the inhabitants in any manner. There is a popular Sanskrit verse showing the interdependable nature of forest and the beast. Tiger is killed when there is no forest. Forest without tiger is cut and destroyed. Mahabharata also speaks of the Vana Vyaghra Nyaya. There can't be a forest without tigers. There can't be tigers without forest. Traditionally, forests are of 5 types. Aranya, a war-free zone. Rana is battleground. So, Aranya, a war-free zone. Tapovana, place for penance. Mahavana, a dense forest. Shrivana, place of prosperity. It's a cultivated jungle for the jungle produce. And Devavana, place reserved for gods. Even today, there are certain areas called Devrai in Marathi, and where the trees are grown but not allowed to cut because they belong to the gods. Protecting the forest is protecting the tradition. Mountains have their unique place in maintaining nature's balance, and ancient texts abound in the praises of these. The Puranas have accounts of mountain worship. Govardhana episode in the Bhagavatam is very famous. Various danas are prescribed in the form of heaps of grains resembling mountains, kuta. Agriculture is the major factor under this. There is an independent work on plants written by sage Parashara called Vrikshayurveda, and I learned there is a separate paper on this. Parashara is regarded as the pioneer of scientific botanical literature in India. Different parts of plants like the root, the stem, the twig, branch, leaves, flower and fruits are given in Manusmriti also. Charaka, of course, gives more details like Pallava, the tender foliage, Tvak or Valka, that is a bark, Sara, extract, Niryasa, secretion, Nala, the fiber, Kshara, alkali preparations, and Kshira, the latex or the milky secretion. Arthashastra, Brihad Samhita are encyclopedic texts which deal with all issues related to mankind. Parashara has written a separate treatise on agriculture in which he has discussed types of rain-bearing clouds, about crop cultivation, harvesting and various agricultural activities, which are followed by Indian farmers even today. Irrigation systems, non-dependence on rain cultivation and non-dependence on rains, cultivation along river banks, and in general, optimum use of natural resources were the main objective of ancient writers on agriculture. Horticulture is also not new branch as understood commonly. There is a work called Upavana Vinoda based on this branch. Kautilya speaks about various directors, Adhyaksha in Adhyaksha Prachara Prakarana, amongst whom he mentions Sita Adhyaksha as an expert on agriculture, science of rearing plants and botany. Timely ploughing of fields, sowing of seeds, preparing the machines came under his supervision. Kautilya remarks that types of rice and oil seeds are preferred as first sowings. Pulses and gram are the middle sowings, and lentils, barley, wheat, linseed and mustard are the last sowings. Priority of sowings is need-based. At another place he says that rice is the best crop, vegetables the middling one, and sugarcane is the worst crop because it requires much expenditure. The economic crisis caused by sugarcane is experienced by all of us these days, especially in Maharashtra. It is to be noted with pride that no ancient Indian text records any farmer's suicide in any adverse situation. The reason is that care was taken for crisis management. Water. Water in its different forms has always been a source of wonder, curiosity, and practical concern for all the human beings. It washes the dirt and purifies, therefore water places like rivers, lakes, ponds got prominence in man's social and religious life. Water was worshipped by the Vedic seers in various forms. Right from the Vedic times, man regarded rainwater as the boon. This nectar from the vast blue sky astonished him and inspired words of praise from him. Rigveda glorifies Parjanya as a mighty male deity, the divine seeder or fructifier of this naked earth. He causes the green sprouts and vegetation and thus announces the fertility of earth. Rain thus is the semen, life-bestowing principle, the first visible incarnation of the divinity of water. Rainwater is useful for agriculture, no doubt, but it is essential for survival also. It is called Jivana, life. Storage of water in tanks, wells, pools, ponds, lakes is therefore necessary so as to make provision of drinking water for men as well as cattle all through the year. Parjanya is treated as father by the Vedic seers, and of course this earth is mother. The thundering during showers is supposed to kill the evils and sins. Agriculture dependent upon rains has a special term called Deva Matrika. Sanskrit literature has references of Adeva Matrika Krishi, which was dependent on rivers and irrigation and not dependent solely on the rains. Bharavi also refers to that. This in other words is Nadi Matrika, dependent on rivers, and such type is regarded as the best by Kautilya. We should never depend upon rains, otherwise there are instances like suicides. River Saraswati, coming to rivers, River Saraswati is glorified as the greatest river, goddess and mother, Nadi Tame, Amritame, Devi Tame. Ancient Indian culture and civilization both flourished on the banks of this great river. Anthropomorphic form of a river is that of a lady, a dancing damsel, the zoomorph is a cow. Payas is a Sanskrit word which denotes both water and milk because the river, nourishes her children, the people on her banks, on the milky white pure water. This payas can be derived from the root pa to to drink as well as from root Piyai to nourish. Rivers are mermaids. Ganga is depicted as dancing on Shiva's locks, her body below the vest undefined and almost formless, like a tapering wavy mass. River is tender at heart and sympathetic to all. At times she is viewed as a young mother bending a bit while breastfeeding her child, and at some place she is considered to be a shy maiden bending to get embraced from her lover. Maria Eva Osha, Ipyan Eva Yosha, etc. This is from the Nadi Sutta of the Rig Veda. Thus, all types of female relationships are superimposed upon her, yet the image of a sustaining mother has been preserved in our tradition. Both in literature as well as art and architecture, water is regarded as sacred and its efficacy as a curative fluid is widely believed in. Since water cleanses both the body and the mind, it is regarded as an eternal source of peace. It purifies the impurities in sacrifice. Purificatory bath, which is indicative of new birth, is therefore prescribed not only after the sacrifice but also after the completion of studies in Avabhrita Snana. This concept seems to be universal. All religious cults prescribe bath or sprinkling of water at least in consecration ceremonies. The holiness attached to bath at particular places on auspicious occasions gave rise to the concept of tirtha. This word, derived from the root through, to get across, means a fordable place or a ghat on a river or some water reservoir. Puranas have discussed this in details. The Jain concept of Tirthankara is based on this meaning. One who makes a fordable place or to cross the ocean of transmigration is a Tirthankara. Because of its inherent purity and property of healing and magico-mystical power, water became the main source of cosmology. Veda declares that unfathomable waters existed prior to creation. Water is precious and endowed with many properties. As such, it is to be guarded all the times. Many Vedic divinities like Agni, Indra, Varuna, Apam, Napat, Ahir, Budnya, Ajay, Ekapat, as well as Puranic deities like Shesha, Ananta, Yakshas, Apsaras are associated with water. Protection and preservation of water came thus under the cover of religion and mythology. In India, many festivals are connected with the rainy season. Naga Panchami, for example, gratitude to serpents, the real friends of farmers and the zoomorph of water, is celebrated in Shravana. Onam or Pongal also come as harvest festivals. So our festivals, our cultural activities are also associated with nature. Water management. Varahamihira studied 55 trees and bushes and has recorded his observations. If a tree is short, has oily bark and many branches, there is water below it. If a branch is bent downwards, it indicates availability of water. He has analyzed and classified different types of soils as well. If hot fumes are coming out of soil, it contains water on its surface. To validate this knowledge, what's the use in basking in old memories? There should be some application of those thoughts, So to validate this knowledge, Sri Venkateshwara University, Tirupati undertook a project and dug 300 bore wells at such places stated by Varahamihira, and 95% wells got ample water. Unfortunately, this project suffered the red tape bureaucracy and was halted. You can see it on the nets. The strikingly visible bioindicators of subterranean water given by Varahamihira are ideally suited for the rapid economic development of drought-hit areas of India. Water management during the Satavahanas or Peshwas in Maharashtra is seen even today through the state wells built on Akluj-Pandharpur road near Barhanpur and Aurangabad. In Aurangabad, we have got that Malik Kafur's water management. A large lake built by King Bhoja near Bhopal stands as witness to the facts narrated in Samarangana Sutradhara. The Gonds, considered to be the illiterate tribals of Chandrapur district, had their own underground water management, and 3 lakes are named, one of the lakes named as Ramala, built in 15th century on 180 acres of land, and other two, Koneri and Gutkula, they were interconnected by underground pipeline during the regime of Gonds in the 15th century. They constructed water reservoirs called Hathani in local language on higher levels in the catchment areas near forest land for drinking purposes. Even now, if you go to Anandvan or Hemalkasa, the projects by Baba Amte and Prakash Amte, you see so many layers of catchment areas and tanks built, and they are all interconnected. Queen Herai of Gonds had taken special initiative to build a lake especially for horses. Department of Environmental Science of Shivaji University, Kolhapur, has published a paper to this effect. You can see it on unishivaji.ac.in. The water management of Gonds for sustainable development has potential to be adapted even today to bridge the gap between demand and supply of water. We can learn lessons in sustainable hydrology from the ruins of an ancient empire of Vijayanagar in Karnataka. I was fortunate to visit the heritage site 10 years ago with Madhav Chitale, the waterman of India, and Dr. Murvanchikar, who tirelessly explained the water system of King Krishnadevaraya and showed us the channel named Rayara Hole, which is still flowing around the ruins. Kautilya mentions two types of dams, one called Sahodaka with natural resources of water, and the other called Aharyodaka, which is a sort of storage tank or embankment where water is brought outside channels. The natural one, Sahodaka, is of course preferred. He states, encouraging people to go for irrigation rather than depending upon rains is a unique feature found in Arthashastra. Exemption from taxes for 5 years are prescribed for one who constructed water tanks newly, to be noted. Right to consume contamination-free potable water is granted to us by our constitution. The judge has left now. Yet the main environmental problem in India is air and water pollution. It is the most essential cosmic principle in keeping the environmental balance. Land and trees depend upon water. In the Puranas, it is stated that one should not urinate in water, nor should one have nude bath. Nude bath is showing disregard to the divinities in the water, which incurs sin. Chiraharana of the gopis in the Bhagavata highlights the same principle. Fire. This is Tejas principle, which is experienced by us on 3 planes in 3 different forms. On the earth, it is fire, the friend of man, one that cooks food and keeps him warm. In the atmosphere, it is the lightning, the inevitable phenomenon accompanying the life-giving rains, and in the heavens, it is the sun and the other luminaries that nourish the beings with their luster. Yaska, the earliest etymologist, refers to this in his threefold division of divinities, Tisro Vai Devata. Terrestrial fire, praised in more than 200 hymns in the Rigveda, is an important deity in the Veda. He is called the Grahapati, Atithi, and is identified with father. Son of Piteva, Nave, Supayano Bhava. Sun in the heavenly world is golden complexion deity. He is regarded as the soul of the moving and the immovable world. Surya Atma Jagatastasthushaschya. Various other deities like Indra, Mitra, Pushan, Bhaga, Vishnu, Savitru have emerged as solar deities in the Vedic literature, stressing the importance of light and heat in life. Agni Shomatmakam Vai Jagat. Agni too is purifier like water. It burns the dross and purifies things. Air is variously known as Vata, the blower, Vayu, the wind, Pavana, purifier, and Prana, the breath in Sanskrit language. It is also known as Matarishvan, one who breathes or moves swiftly, Matari Antariksheshva Siti, iti Matarishva. It is defined in Indian text and is identified with the ultimate reality. Air in Indian philosophy can be discussed on 2 levels, microcosmic and macrocosmic. On the larger elemental level is the air, the atmosphere, and can be traced back to the Veda. The Rigveda has hymns addressed to Rudra, Maruts, and Vayu, all meaning air in different forms. Rudra is fierce and destructive like a terrible beast, like a wild storm, and the Vedic seers beg him to turn his malevolence elsewhere. Maruts are the children of Rudra and are closely associated with Indra, the governing deity of rains. Vata, the gale, is a less important deity but is offered oblations in the Vedic sacrifices. All these aspects of air favor mankind by bringing fertilizing rains. On the macro level, air is the essential element that brings water vapors and dust particles together and causes formation of rain clouds. On the micro level, it is again the life breath. It is the most dynamic element and works on different levels of existence. From physiological point of view, it is the life principle. Psychologically, it can mean intelligence, and philosophically, it is equated with Atman or Brahman. Upanishads have various references of pranopasana which can be treated as atmopasana. Pranopasana yields longevity in this life, immortality hereafter. It also ensures ecstatic delight, narrate the ancient text. Yoga, one of the 6 systems of Indian philosophy, emphasizes the prana principle. Regulating and managing the prana ensures healthy body and sound mind. The elemental air is responsible for all activities of living beings. More so, as far as the organs of ear and speech are concerned. The sound uttered by the mouth is heard by the ear through the medium of air. The harshness or softness of the sound is felt by the delicate skin of the hearing organ. Indian philosophy believes that air has the characteristic of touch by skin. It is the medium of tactile perception. Otherwise also, the cool or hot breezes are felt and experienced by us. Feeling of air is delightful, especially when it reaches us through some instruments. All over the world, hollow instruments like flutes and stringed instruments like guitar or sitar are used to entertain people. But for air, it would not have been possible. Air is an inevitable part of our day-to-day life. It helps us live life and live an enriched life. These days, air pollution has reached an alarming state due to excessive discharges of harmful gases. Ancient Indian thinkers attached divine element to the phenomenon of air to avoid such pollution. Ether. This is Akasha principle in Indian ethos. The ancient Greeks used 2 words, air, A-E-R, meant the dim lower atmosphere, and aether, A-E-T-H-E-R, meant the bright upper atmosphere above the clouds. Aristotle definitely separated air from ether. For him, ether was an unchanging, almost divine substance that was found only in the heavens. It can be compared to the element of Akasha in Indian tradition. Varuna, the sovereign king, is supposed to be the guardian deity of the vast Akasha. The etymological meaning of Varuna from root vru supports this. He is portrayed as a universal monarch upholding Rita, the cosmic order. Imagining a deity to run, regulate and rule the entire cosmos is nothing but assigning smooth management of the worldly affairs. This is a system in the cosmos, and if it is disturbed, chaos would befall. This is the simple logic of the ancient seers of India. The forest, rivers, sun, moon, dawn, night, fire, water, all these phenomena are entangled, are mutually interdependent and work in an order, capital. Disturbing this is environmental hazard, it's environmental imbalance. Human being is asked to maintain this, but lest he will be punished by Varuna. Now coming to the second part, I'm taking a bit long. Now this deals with ecology, which could be divided into many branches like plant ecology, population ecology, community ecology, production ecology, geographical ecology, animals and birds ecology, and environmental ecology. Some of these have already been covered in the earlier section by and by. Here, relationship of mankind with the surroundings and other living beings like animals and birds, otherwise known as zoology, will be considered. Mrigapakshi Shastra is one of the oldest works dedicated to the scientific information of animals and birds. A Jain poet called Hamsadeva of 13th century has classified 127 animals and 97 birds in this treatise. Besides this common text, there are separate texts written on elephants, horses, hawks and eagles. In the pre-Maharashtra Mahabharata period, Shalihotra wrote Hayayurveda, a medicine book for equine diseases. Traditionally, Nakula, one of the Pandavas, is recognized as supreme authority in the subject, and one Ashwashastra is assigned to him. The manuscript is available in the famous Saraswati Mahal library at Tanjore. Ashvaparikshana by Nala is also famous, as Nala was regarded as the best horse rider in the Mahabharata. Similar is the case with elephants. Palakapya is ascribed two great works on elephantology, Gajashastra and Hastyayurveda. While the former the Gajashastra deals with the types, characteristics, diet, gestation period, sports of this largest herbivorous animal, Hastyayurveda, the latter work, classifies elephants into the threefold prakritis, Vata, Kapha and Pitta, and suggests medicines for them. In the same line, there is a book called Gavayurveda, a handbook of medicines on the cattle. Basically, ancient man lived close to nature. As such, frequent interaction and periodical conflicts with wild as well as domesticated animals became a regular feature for him. No wonder he developed a fancy to observe their habits, practices, natural inclinations, likes, dislikes, and make note of all these details. Such documentation became the source book for the kings, the rulers, and warrior classes first, and then were thrown open to all laity. In ancient India, when PETA, prevention of enmity towards animals, was not operative, PETA was not operative then, yet during that time, Kautilya has prescribed fine of 26 panas for binding, killing, or injuring fish, birds, deer, and animals whose slaughter is disallowed on religious or other grounds. The superintendent of animal slaughter, Sunadhyaksha, is supposed to fine 50 panas, 50, to one who killed a calf, a bull, or a milk cow. In fact, Kautilya makes room for a separate supervisor of cattle, Gavadhyaksha, and entrusts the care of crippled, deserted, ailing, and old cattle to this Adhyaksha. On similar grounds, there is a supervisor of horses and elephants. Man-animal relation is one based on mutual dependency, and therefore utmost care was taken in maintaining cordial relation between them. Brihad Samhita, the encyclopedic treatise of Varahamihira of 5th century, has devoted as many as 7 chapters to animal studies. The diversity of animal life is classified as rural, Gramya, wild, Aranya, aquatic, Ambuchari, terrestrial, Bhuchari, atmospheric, Vyomachari, diural, Divasanchara, and nocturnal, Kshapachara, and the diural nocturnal, Ubhayachara also. Yuktikalpataru of Bhoja, 11th century AD, though a text of statecraft and polity, topics of secular interest and animals are dealt with in this. Interestingly, he divides bulls in 4 classes as Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, in addition to Satvika, Rajasa, and Tamasa. Manasollasa of 12th century is another treatise furnishing scientific information about animals. Someshwara here, the Karta of Manasollasa, Someshwara has given physical characteristics of various animals in different geographical territories. For example, dogs from Vidarbha are strong, those from Andhra are short, and those from Karnataka have a thin and short coat on their bodies. Birds like crows, sparrows, parrots, pigeons, cranes are an inevitable part of human life. These birds stay near human habitat for their livelihood, and as such are closely associated with various beliefs and practices. Ramayana has a crow episode in Sundarakanda. Mahabharata has various allegorical stories involving birds and animals in its Shanti Parva. It also states that plants can breathe, think, smell, feel like human beings. Panchatantra and Hitopadesha are separate texts meant to teach ethics through fables, wherein birds and animals speak in human tongue and are endowed with human characteristics. Family ties, fraternal feelings are superimposed on the birds and animals. We come across family of lions, pair of birds deeply in love with each other and caring for their young ones, and so on and so forth. There are clear references to veterinary science and mention of the experts. Principle of non-violence, ahimsa, in Jainism and Buddhism is a nice method of moral education which inculcates the value of environmental protection. The non-injury concept could be physical, mental, emotional, and social environment in which humans live. Buddha differentiated between need and desire. He condemned desire, tanha or trishna, and advised to end desire, to end misery, dukkha. Truly, nature has enough to sustain all, but nothing to satisfy the greed or desire of mankind. Now, coming to conclusion, I have taken a long time. As Aurobindo says, all problems of life are problems of harmony. Increasing conflict is seen between human race and its surroundings today. When it comes to animals, it's observed that due to urbanization and deforestation, natural habitat of animals is endangered, resulting into climate changes and ecological imbalance. Natural habitats have become drier and hotter. Habitat loss is one of the major threats facing the animals like tigers, leopards, and elephants who attack human beings. Forceful poaching for ivory, animal hides, unlawful hunting, and cutting trees in the reserved forest, abhayaranyas, have done great harm to the entire ecosystem. Tribals staying in the forest areas have a complete identification with the forest and a cycle of seasonality. They have developed amazing eco-indicators that could be adopted by the urban people and farmers, especially to predict the onset of monsoon. Celebrating festivals with the seasons is another mark of human-nature harmony. Initiating young generation into traditional knowledge and medicinal plants, methods of preservation of biodiversity, and treating these with respect are some of the devices to maintain the ecological balance. Nature is the Vedic concept of Viraj, the universal cow, or the Puranic concept of Kamadhenu, the wish-fulfilling cow. It's a cosmic affair, not the private property of human beings. Sooner man realizes this, better it is for his continuity and prosperity. In India, the study of sciences is not popularly traced to the ancient most sources because the language in which these works are written, that is Sanskrit, is neglected. A true Indian therefore, to boast of his rich legacy and uninterrupted tradition of knowledge, he should strive hard to study the source language, that is Sanskrit, and then explore the hidden aspects from numerous manuscripts lying in the dark cabinets and shelves of some remote libraries. I would like to end with a beautiful verse from Purana, highlighting the importance of tree plantation, which was adopted by Maharashtra government just recently on 1st of July. Ashwathamekam pichundamekam nyagrodhamekam dashachinchanikam kapitha bilva malakitrayam cha panchamra ropi narakam na pashyed. This is from Bhavishyottara Purana. Thanks to the organizers for giving me this wonderful opportunity, and thanks to all of you for your patient listening. Thanks one and all.
Thank you, madam, for your excellent survey on this subject, starting from the Vedas, ending with Sri Aurobindo of modern age. May I request Dr. Kameshwari, our director, to give a set of our publications which were released during this year to mark the 70th anniversary of our research institute to Dr. Gauri Mahulikar, and also a memento for Sole. The four books were released during this year. One is Chaturayuga calendar. It's a work exclusively on Vaivasva Manvantara, tracing our history to at least 3 lakh years. It was a project worked upon by Professor Parthasarathi, who is now in London. And the second book is Shiva Temple and Temple Rituals, which is a reprint. And then the third book is about Kupuswami Shastri, Mahamahopatya Kupusastri himself, written by all his students and admirers, and also a kavya on him. And the fourth book, a tiny volume, is on Dhyana Bindu Upanishad, Yoga Upanishad, with English translation and notes. So thank you, madam, for your excellent lecture. And we also thank, I think, for some of you who may not be knowing, who welcomed the gathering today, Sri Kalidas, respectable son of the respectable Dr. V. Raghavan. Thank you very much, sir. He came just today from Egypt, and he has taken all the pains to come over here and as the senior vice president of our institute, he took the responsibility. Thank you very much, sir, for coming over here, and thank you, madam, for your excellent lecture. We will go to the first session now, and may I now request Dr. Bhagyalata Pataskar to come over to the dais, please, and Dr. Shri Ramana Sharma. Dr. Aruna Sundaram is he is outside. He will just come and join us after a little bit of time. We have also arranged lunch after this session is over, and I request all of you to join us for lunch also. And now it is our privilege to welcome Dr. Bhagyalata Pataskar and Dr. T.B. Vasudeva, Deputy Director of our Research Institute, will introduce Professor Bhagyalata Pataskar.
Namaste. It's my privilege to introduce the